I'm Brad Paisley, and I'm a game changer.
GameChanger is absolutely going to lead this state forward.
I'm Joe Manchin, and I'm a game changer.
I'm Shelley Moore Capito, and I'm a game changer.
It's time to make a difference here in West Virginia. I'm a game changer.
GameChanger is a student-powered substance misuse prevention movement. We're working in West Virginia schools to prevent opioid and other drug use before it starts and empower young mountaineers to make healthy choices and live drug-free lifestyles.
Become a game changer so that we can make a difference with young people, and that'll help us all in our society in the future.
I'm a game changer, and we can defeat this opponent.
For the kids in this state, let's absolutely grab that rope together and run across the finish line.
The opioid crisis came in 3 waves. More than 2 decades ago, the first wave. Big drug companies started pushing out stronger and stronger addictive pain pills, getting hundreds of thousands of Americans irrevocably hooked and hijacking people's lives. When the prescription crackdown finally came, the second wave hit. People struggling with addiction were forced to turn to the street, where heroin was cheaper than black market pharmaceuticals. But compared to prescribed pills, heroin was unpredictable and dangerous. Many lost their lives. Now, the third wave is cresting. The crisis has taken a new, even darker turn with the advent of a synthetic opioid, 50 times stronger than heroin. It's called fentanyl. It's a stone-cold killer, and it's ending up in everything. I've spent a lot of my life in West Virginia, playing basketball at WVU, cheering my sister on the court, and my brother on the football field. So I really care about the state, and especially young people coming up today. Maybe you've seen the billboards on the highway that say, "One pill can kill." It sounds scary, but I've got more questions than answers about what is going on with fentanyl in West Virginia. I've partnered with an amazing nonprofit called GameChanger and invited teenagers from all over the state to see what they know and what they want to know. Together, we're going to investigate why and how one pill can kill.
Speed.
Okay, and marker.
Game changer.
All right, why don't we start out? Let's say your name, what school you attend, and an interesting fact about yourself. Kai, you want to start?
Yeah, my name's Kai. I'm from 100 High School, and I play guitar.
I'm Caitlin. I'm from North Marion High School. I'm in theater, choir, speech and debate team.
My name's Aaliyah. I'm from Robert Seabird High School, and I have 3 snakes.
My name's Jacob. I go to Scott High School. A fun fact about me is I have been in theater 4 years.
I'm Sierra. I go to Huntington High, and I play roller derby, and I picked up guitar recently.
I'm Lindsay. I go to Bridgeport Middle, and I play soccer there.
I'm Aiden. I go to Milton, and I play sports.
I'm Tristan Hornbuckle, and I go to Huntington High School, and I do basketball and track.
My name is Annabelle, and I go to Fairmont Catholic, and I like to play soccer.
Awesome. Okay, so before I forget, what I want you guys to do with this little piece of paper is write down the name of someone in your life that you love the most. I want to find out what you guys are curious about and really dig into the root of this fentanyl problem. Can you guys raise your hand if you have been personally affected by the opioid crisis? Wow.
I have a lot of friends that I know that struggle with addiction, and I try to sympathize with them. A lot of them like to hide it because it's really depressing.
Addiction is something that's always been prevalent in my mind and something I know about because it's something my family struggles with a lot historically.
I have a friend, his dad overdosed and actually did die because he had something that was laced with just a tiny bit of fentanyl.
I mean, this is very tough stuff. We want to create a safe space here for this conversation, so if at any point you feel uncomfortable, please feel free to just step away, and that's okay. Now, Annabelle and Lindsay, you two are in middle school, so that's a different environment.
I have heard about it, but no one in my school has went through it.
Yeah, I heard about it too. I haven't seen it though.
I wouldn't have imagined in middle school that it would be like this big of a deal in high school, but I can tell you guys right now it will. A lot of freshmen will do that and start vaping and stuff like that and experimenting with that just because they want to fit in with that high school crowd.
Peer pressure looks a lot different than what people make it out to be. It's not more like a, hey, do this, but it's being around all those people. And that's what the peer pressure is. No one's forcing you to do it, but it's fitting in.
Right now, trying to fit in could be deadly because of a recent crisis of counterfeit pills that look like regular medicine but contain fentanyl. Would you guys be able to recognize the difference between a real pill and a fake pill?
No.
Probably not.
It'd be tough.
Well, let's try it out. Take one of these cards, each one of you. All right, so who thinks they have a pill that is real?
I don't even know what color it's supposed to be. Like, I don't know what it's supposed to look like.
Who thinks they have one that's fake? Okay, well, let's flip it over. And actually, the even number on the back of your card, you actually have the real pills. The fake are the odds. Let's look again at the odds. Would you have ever imagined that that is not a real pill?
This just looks like a regular, like, Advil or ibuprofen I would take.
It would be really easy to slip in something that was laced and you would be none the wiser.
So what kind of questions do you guys have?
Why are people just out here, like, creating, and how are they creating stuff like this?
How likely would it be that I would get something that was fake? Like, how quick would I get something that was fake?
We're taking those questions to an expert, a drug chemist at the DEA, whose job is to analyze fake pills when they are seized as evidence. When did you first start seeing more fake tablets?
I would say probably in the last 3 or 4 years, we've started to see certainly an influx of them.
So what exactly goes into a fake pill?
So we'll find fentanyl, plus there's binders to keep everything together. There's tints, there's dyes. There will also sometimes be other drugs in addition to fentanyl.
When you are going through your testing, how often do you see tablets that contain a fatal dose?
The fatal dose is considered 2 milligrams. It's an average. So I would say if you had 10 tablets in your hand, maybe 6 of them are at a concentration that can kill you. You don't know. Sometimes it's 4 times as much. And you'd have to come to a laboratory like this to have any kind of indication.
You wear the protective gear. Have you ever been exposed and had a serious incident?
Actually, I have. A few years ago, there was a laboratory accident on some of the equipment that I was working on, and I had fentanyl and heroin, and it was shot into my right eye. First thing that went through my mind, my God, I made a mistake, and my wife is going to be heartbroken. And I was rushed to the hospital. I was in the hospital all day, and the respiratory alarms kept going off despite the treatments they were giving me. The scientists that are analyzing the fake tablets that are out there, they're wearing the heavy mask, they're wearing the gloves, and they are suffering injuries as well. And that's when they have everything working in their favor, let alone someone that's taking a fake pill.
That's incredible.
We see fentanyl in a lot of different types of drugs, including it's been identified in vape. It's been identified in cocaine, it's been identified in methamphetamine. We also see it in Adderall-type tablets, benzodiazepines, that's like Xanax. So as we talk about this today, 2 weeks later, it could be something different. 6 weeks later, it could be something different. The thing that doesn't change, it's the unknown. You would never knowingly put something in your mouth, say, from a food product that came from a questionable source, or that mayonnaise in a cheese sandwich that's been sitting outside for a week at a park bench. You'd never do that.
How likely is anything that someone would buy that they would get something fake?
If it's not from a pharmacist, it's not worth the risk.
So I'm gonna give you each a plate and a packet of sugar. And I want you to put the amount of sugar. If it were fentanyl, how much would be in a lethal dose? All right, Annabelle, let's take a look at your plate. Aiden, that might be too much. Sierra, that's a lot of fentanyl, I think. So it turns out, if sugar were fentanyl, it only takes 14 grains for a lethal dose.
One of my best friends last year, she overdosed on fentanyl. She went to the bathroom and she passed out on the floor. And that's when I went to use the restroom and I found her. And then she was in the hospital for like a week.
I'm sorry that you had to witness that. And this plays into exactly why we're here. We're learning how easy it is to overdose. I'm going to talk to some folks on the front lines of this crisis to find out exactly what happens when a person is poisoned by fentanyl.
We don't see as much of the IV drug use like heroin because people have seemed to gotten into their head that heroin and shooting up is really dangerous. But people don't seem to realize that, pills and other drugs that have been safer also are starting to be laced with this fentanyl. It can be in marijuana and the synthetics, meth, cocaine, obviously heroin, and pills. And, if someone thinks they're taking a Xanax or something just to relax, and they end up ODing on fentanyl.
Going on these calls, we see a lot of the same people over and over. And then sometimes we'll see brand new people who it's the first time they've ever tried it, and it's too much for them to handle, and they overdose the first time.
So it really is, they're not addicted, they took one pill, and literally it was the fatal dose. Is it rare to get there too late or to come on a call and find someone that you can't save?
We actually see people who don't make it pretty often. A lot of people will do drugs alone, or even the people that they're around will, if they overdose, will just leave them there because they're too worried about themselves to get in trouble to help somebody.
Paint a picture of what a family member, a mom, a dad, would walk into and find their child, what it would look like when they've overdosed.
The patient is usually stiff, they're blue. You can't even recognize them as the person that they were.
So right now we're headed to what sounds like an overdose. I guess the caller called in and said that they think that her daughter or relative, we're not quite sure, took a fake Adderall pill. Hello, hey, can you hear me?
She has a pulse.
Okay.
You wanna get the Narcan, Luke?
Yeah. Check her eyes real quick.
They're reactive.
Okay. All right, ready for Narcan. Narcan going in. Her blood pressure's real low. We're gonna need to get her to the ambulance. Watch that bump on the way out there. All right, coming in. So now we're headed to the hospital. We ended up getting the patient stabilized in the back. We had to Narcan her. When we got on scene, she wasn't breathing. She did have a pulse, had some pinpoint pupils. We believe she probably took something laced with fentanyl or some other opioid. These things, they don't always go this way. Thank goodness we got there in time.
So what's everyone's understanding about why kids are taking these pills and why kids are doing this?
I think there's a big diversity between it all. I think some because they want to get high, some because they're struggling with like a depression or just to feel better about something that they're going through.
I think some teens, they take it one day as an escape or to try it out, and then it leads into like every week or every other week, and then it leads into like every day. I don't think they know like what it will lead them down into.
Yeah, my mom, when she was in high school, she was addicted to opioids until 14 years ago. She's been clean. And she started just to get high, and then slowly and slowly it built into an addiction.
But eventually, with addiction, you build up a tolerance, you need to take more and more of it, but like to where you just need it to function as like a person.
I want to hear about your perspective on the stigma surrounding drugs and addiction.
People are afraid to face problems like that because they're afraid of what other people will think.
I think a lot of people don't realize that addiction is a disease. People can't control it.
I think that a lot of the time people don't realize they're not being open or accepting to like their friends because of the terms they use, like druggie, you're supposed to use, words that don't make them feel like you're knocking them down any.
Every now and again
We're heading to visit a family that has faced the stigma of addiction firsthand.
Her 21st birthday, she was doing really well, and so we took her to Vegas, and then we let her jump out of an airplane because that was her.
Oh, wow.
That's what she wanted to do. She gets to the bottom of the ground, and she goes, I want to go again. I want to go again right now.
We always used to laugh because I thought she was so annoying as a kid. She followed me around everywhere. She wanted to be just like me. It didn't take long for that to wear off, and we became best friends.
We grew up together, elementary school all the way up to high school and college, and lived together in college.
Yeah, we did everything together. It was just three best friends.
She came to us for her freshman year of college right before finals and sat down in that chair, actually, and said, I need help.
She was kind of open about it to us, but we didn't understand the severity of it. And she was talking about being high on this pill, and we didn't know what that was.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember in high school, she pulled me into the locker room and she told me, Mackenzie, I have an issue, I can't stop using. We were I don't know, sophomores in high school, 15, and I just didn't understand it. If I could go back and was educated at that age, we would have done a lot of things differently. We were just kids ourselves, you know?
And she was so good at hiding it. So yes, she told us, and then
she acted completely normal. So it's she says, one thing, but then she acts completely normal.
Towards the end, we realized that it was way worse than we ever could imagine.
When I found out, I was in shock, complete shock.
You have a captain on the swim team, a captain on the cheerleading team, one of 3 girls to ever score over 100 goals in lacrosse, taking college courses in high school, and being very successful at all of it.
You look at somebody that's addicted to drugs as this person that's falling down and can't function, and she wasn't like that.
She was very strong, very strong. And I had full faith that she could beat it.
In rehab, they told us part of recovery is relapse.
The whole stigma part, you're embarrassed for anybody else to know. You don't want to disappoint anyone. Even though we had open dialogue and we invited, anytime you feel weak, you're welcome here, please come to us. She couldn't bear to look at us and say, I messed up.
She relapsed and she died because of fentanyl. When her autopsy, the toxicology came back, there was 0 heroin. It was all fentanyl. It was enough to kill 6 of her.
6 of them.
They said she died instantly. Everything was still in her hands when he pulled her out of the car.
I felt really strongly about putting how she died in the obituary because people need to know this is real. This is happening everywhere.
We put up a billboard not far from here just to help get the word out.
We've lost
4
or 5, in our graduating class since we've graduated high school 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
This whole fentanyl epidemic, it's not an overdose, it's poisoning. And it'll take 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That particular day that Lauren passed on July 9th was actually my parents' 60th wedding anniversary. So my dad was over there making dinner for my mom, and I had to walk across the street and tell them that.
It's so hard because you can't go backwards. You can't, this isn't something you can fix.
What are some strategies that you guys think would be a good idea or be effective to kids that are using? How you would talk with them about it?
But you have to like do it in a supportive way, let them know that you're in their corner.
Do you guys have a trusted adult in your life that you would feel comfortable going to maybe say that you're worried about someone, or do you think that would be a deal breaker in your friendship?
When you bring an adult into a situation that involves teenagers and substances, you have to accept that if they find out that you're the person who brought in the adult, you have to be prepared to take all the blame for that.
Would you be comfortable and confident enough and strong enough to go and say that to someone that you care about, but that you know is in need of help?
Yeah, once it gets to a certain point, you gotta say something, even if they tell you not to.
I'd rather lose my best friend than actually lose the life of my best friend any day.
So what other kind of questions do you guys have?
I want to know how it just started out of nowhere and just became so popular.
Just sort of how fentanyl is getting to our schools.
I want to know how it even got to the point where it is so easy for somebody my age to get their hands on it.
I think the right folks to answer those questions are police detectives who bust drug dealers. I'm going to ride along with Detective Forsyth and Lieutenant Love from the Marion County Sheriff's Office. Is the biggest issue right now fentanyl?
Well, people think that they're taking a regular oxy or a Percocet, and they're getting something mixed with fentanyl, and then they're overdosing because it's a lot stronger than what they're used to.
Are they making them in some fancy lab they've created, or in the kitchen, or where's this happening?
In one situation, they had rented out a storage locker, just think like an old, nasty, unclimate-controlled storage locker that's got bugs and stuff crawling in it.
It's crazy.
Oh, what about the girl we had over here that was mixing her fentanyl up in her bedroom? But she's getting high at the same time, so who knows what the heck she is making. It's amazing where people hide stuff. We've had them hide it in piles of dirty baby diapers.
Yeah, that one was disgusting. They actually kept their stash where they were pulling it from to sell in the giant pile of old, used, dirty diapers.
Well, remember the ecstasy dealer? When you get pulled over, the fastest place to hide something is in your body.
Yep.
And when he was searched, there's 100 ecstasy tablets hidden inside his anus.
Yeah.
A lot of drug dealers will hide stuff in places like that. And then they sell it, and the people who buy it have no idea where it's been, but they still use it.
Lieutenant Love can't be on camera because he does a lot of undercover work. But Detective Forsyth is going to tell us about the business of drug dealing. So, Detective, tell me a little bit about where we are.
So this is one of the neighborhoods that it's near our local college. Pretty high traffic area. Drug dealers move into these areas because it's lower income housing.
So the drugs in the streets of West Virginia, where are they coming from?
China, Mexico, the cartel shipping them across the border. I mean, this is a trillion-dollar business. A lot of the traffic that we're seeing in our area is coming in from places like Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, Georgia, big hubs like that. Fentanyl gives the same type of high as opiates, but it takes way less. The drug dealers are buying it in bulk, and they can come down here and they can charge more because there's less supply down here. And then from there, they can step on it or cut it with other agents.
So when the drugs are being cut, they're essentially being watered down?
Yes. They'll mix it with anything from baby laxative to Dr. Scholl's foot powder. They try to cut it down the best they can to where the person's still getting a high, but it's not gonna hurt them. But ultimately, they're not trained chemists. They're just winging it. It's kind of like, playing Russian roulette or gambling. The house is always gonna win.
So how does all of this relate to young people?
Young kids, they can't take the type of dosage that even an adult can. So that's how we're ending up having kids found in bathrooms, janitors' closets, overdosed because they took half a pill they got off their buddy, or they hit a vape that was laced with something, or they smoked a little bit of weed on a one-hitter, and now they're unconscious.
And almost like there's no concern for how much is in it.
They're making money. They're not worried about who they hurt. It's just it's business to them. It's not personal.
What if you could ask a drug dealer any question?
Why? Why are you doing these things?
Do you know that like your product is ending up in the hands of the youth?
How'd you end up doing this out of all things?
Are you proud of yourself?
We're about to meet with an incarcerated drug dealer who is willing to talk. Susan, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've actually been incarcerated for 18 and a half years of my adult life, and every bit of it has revolved around drugs. I was a user and a seller of fentanyl, and it's just been an ongoing thing with drug addiction.
How did that first start?
As a kid, basically peer pressure. You know, just the group of people I hang around, and I felt, well, I'd be cooler if I would fit in with them.
I mean, it's probably a little easier to start selling once you've done it yourself. How did that begin?
In the family that I came from, very prominent people of my county, I kind of felt like a black sheep, and I felt needed when I was selling because I had plenty of friends. They was always coming around, and I felt like I was in the spotlight with that.
What did you start out selling?
I was selling roxicodone 30s, 30 milligram roxicodones. I was making trips down to Florida and bringing thousands of pills back.
When did you see it really fluctuate into fentanyl?
It was around 2014. I was about a mid-level dealer. I was purchasing ounces of it. It all had to revolve around my addiction to drugs, because if I wasn't selling, then how was I going to supply myself? And I had a very hefty habit. About $800 a day was my habit.
Were you breaking them down? Were you cutting the pills?
Yes. I've pressed them into the Roxy 30s that I used to sell. They make presses for those, and you take the fentanyl and you put it in and press those into pills.
The pills are identical. I'll hand you these cards and we'll kind of do a little test if you can tell the difference between which one you think is real or fake.
I would say that's real. Is it real?
That's a fake.
That's a fake pill? Okay.
Yep, that is not real.
This one does not look real, but I know what I'm looking at again.
That's real.
That's real? See, that's how much you can be fooled by it.
Right.
Somebody that knows what they're looking at can be fooled by it.
Exactly.
This right here, I'd say is real.
Fake.
Fake. When you press it, it comes out looking identical as a legit medication prescribed by a doctor. And the fentanyl's in it.
So you understood, like, if I add too much here, that is a lethal dose, and I can't.
And to be honest with you, I didn't care. I was making my money. And I know that's a terrible, terrible thing for any human being to feel. Yeah, I've had people to overdose on my product.
And you knew it? And
yeah. My own son overdosed on my product. I'm not proud to admit that. The sick way that I thought of it, well, if they was getting it from me, at least they'd be here with me, and I knew they was safe. And that was a figment of my own imagination right there. It's not safe. And I realized that when I sat in the floor for about 45 minutes doing CPR on my own child. By the grace of God, he's straightened out now, but he could have not came back from that. I've seen it happen so many times I can't even count.
Do you see such a difference with fentanyl in
One
the
time.
power that it can?
One time, that's all it takes. One time is all it takes for you to be addicted. They get so addicted to it that it takes more and more to make them feel the way it did when they first took the first one. And within about 4 hours, they're already starting to feel the withdrawals. Getting dope sick is what they call it.
Can you describe some of the withdrawal symptoms?
The cold chills, you would profusely sweat, your legs hurt, your body cramps, vomiting, you lose your bowels, extreme weakness, seizures. It's
so bad that you need another pill.
Yeah. Oh, God, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You live, eat, and breathe trying to get your next high. It doesn't care who you are, how rich you are, how poor you are, how pretty you are, how ugly you are. It don't discriminate.
What would you tell parents to look out for?
Look for changes in their moods, changes in their behaviors, changes in their normal routine. Because one thing kids are good at is hiding stuff. Don't be embarrassed to take them to the doctor and say, drug test my kid, because you'll be saving their life.
We've talked about just how strong fentanyl is, and compared to heroin, it is 50 times stronger. We're going to do a visual representation of the strength of heroin versus the strength of fentanyl. One jar is going to get 1 drop, and the other jar will get 50 drops.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
46, 47, 48, 49, 50.
So right away, what is everyone noticing?
It's completely red.
Yeah, a whole lot of red.
One's pink, one is like dark red.
I knew it was stronger. I just didn't know that it was that much. I just thought it was a little.
Yeah.
I heard it was stronger, but seeing it's different.
Pretty scary, huh?
It's insane.
In the beginning of this discussion, I asked you guys to write down who you love most in this world. Can you pull that piece of paper back out for me?
My family.
My family.
Jesus or my parents?
Parents. I specifically wrote my mom and my brother.
My entire family.
My mom, my brother, pretty much my family, yeah.
I wrote my little sister. I wrote my dad and my stepmom.
I know when I was your age, I couldn't imagine anything bad happening to myself. I hope that you guys and all of the students who will watch this film will think about that person written on that paper and keep them safe, and keep yourself safe for them. What do you guys hope that kids in West Virginia will get out of hearing everything we've talked about today?
I'd say to step up. And, because what if the person on your piece of paper was going through it?
Like, don't think it won't happen to you, because guess who thought it wouldn't happen to them? The person that it happened to.
I hope they realize how little it takes to kill somebody, and that if they are going through this, that someone's there to help them.
Also, think about who you have in your life. Like, you can ask them for help. Don't start it. Don't do it just to, like, fit in.
You guys were great. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and being so honest. That was so intense. I wanted to leave everyone with something positive, and I asked them to take a moment to reflect on all the things that they have to live for.
I know we've been talking about the bad things that can happen at school, but I love school. I love most of my teachers. I love hanging out with my friends.
At Christmas time, it's really fun. When we go cut our Christmas tree, that's always really fun. And so there's just so many things.
I have a really good support system at home.
My family, my pets, and my friends.
Cats. Cats are definitely worth living for.
I'm worth living for myself, like I'm worth living for me, because I want to see where I can go.
Every now and again, I find that the world is too much for me. I know it happens to you sometimes when the blows bring